And we are live, and it's almost Christmas. Hello, everyone. Welcome for another episode of the Puppet Podcast. I'm Caroline. I'm doing this podcast with a lot of passion. I want to bring more attention towards puppetry. I want everyone to connect in this weird pandemic time, and also in this great Christmas time. We can see it positively. So I want you also to have a look towards social media and where our puppetry towards social media. So you can have a look on our Patreon. I will just bring the little banner here. Boom! We have a Patreon account. If you don't know what is Patreon, you must discover this because it's the platform for many artists. They share their work and they get value for that. So it's really interesting. So it's Patreon-Puppet Podcast. And we have those workshops that we do and promote on this. And so you can meet many puppeteers who have a lot of talent and they just share their passion for puppetry. So this is the commercial part, but tonight I'm so happy. I have someone from Canada here, Jim Morrow. Yes, so we go to Nova Scotia. So over there it's 9, so 1 hour more, and we go east more. So yeah, Canada is a big country. So I'm really happy to connect. His vice president of UNIMA Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in the screen, Mr. Jim Morrow. Da-da-da!
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's the start, you pump it. Hi, Jim. Happy to see you, and thank you for accepting the invitation of the Puppet Podcast.
Oh, it's fantastic. Happy Solstice to you.
Yeah.
Today is like a minute or two longer. There's going to be more sunlight today than there was yesterday.
Yeah, that's true. It's the longest night, is it?
What is today, 21st or the 22nd?
We are 22, so it was yesterday.
Okay, so yesterday was the shortest day of the year. Today, things are getting brighter.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to you on a day when things are starting to get brighter. So isn't that amazing? That's fantastic.
Yeah. We start to see that 2021 will be brighter and everything will be brighter since, we start this interview also.
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good.
You're surviving in Nova Scotia.
We're actually thriving. We're doing okay. It's different. It's totally different than what we've been used to over the last million years, but we're changing it up. We're learning how to do new things. And
you have TV right now. You do a TV project online. You're amazing. But Jim, I want you to introduce yourself, maybe from the start into puppetry. Introduce yourself to the people who are watching.
Go back that far to you. Oh my God, really?
I like you. I like the puppeteer to present himself. I feel it's kind of like an exercise at the same time.
Well, so I started many years ago. You had an interesting question about, passion and stuff like that. And I have to admit, that puppetry was never my passion in the beginning. I didn't even know that it existed as something that someone could do. Originally I was so interested in sports and playing and being from the island of Newfoundland. We didn't have access to a lot of performing art and especially puppetry. So it just wasn't on my radar until I went to a university here in Nova Scotia and got involved in theater, and then was hired by this incredible theater company back in 1978. And the theater company was producing plays for children. And they used puppets and objects to tell the stories. And, it's something I had never considered in my life. And nor even then when I was working did I care or think there was something I would do. I was just having a lot of fun. And so here now, 42 years later, I'm still with the same company. And I've developed an understanding of the medium, the object. I know the object intimately, and I know the power of the object and the power of the puppet and what it can do and what it can say. And I really am. I think I consider myself a really lucky person to have that it found me. You know, somehow it reached out and grabbed me and said, "Jim, this is what you're going to do." And so I said, "Okay." I hung on to the puppet tail, and off we go. We're on this mad adventure together. So I'm sure everybody has their own story, but you know, mine just happened by fate, I think, more than anything else, which is really quite extraordinary.
Yeah, that's extraordinary, and I love you. You say it's mad at the same time. Extraordinary and a bit crazy at the same time. This
It's
art
always
form.
crazy. I mean, it's a crazy art form. I mean, it's ridiculous, really. You know, pick things up and play with them and make them live and make them move and make them talk and make them breathe and make them cry. You know, it's but there's something about it. There's something that humans have connections with objects for a long time, and so it's really quite a fascinating and powerful medium, and it can be a dangerous medium, you know, which is really very exciting. You know, and the other thing I like about it is the intimacy between the object and the human. You know, the embrace that they embrace each other. You know, they come together. The human can't exist without the object, and the object can't exist without the human. And so they have this symbiotic relationship. They depend on each other. There's a dependency, and they learn each other's language. And the puppeteer can't speak for the object until he or she gets to know it. And so it's a very intimate medium, and one that when I have an object on my hand, or I'm holding it, or I'm moving it, it's a very special relationship. That's very tough to teach, actually.
Yeah.
You know? It's easy to teach the technique of objects, but it's hard to teach how to invest, you know, personality or thought into the object.
Yeah.
So that's a struggle sometimes. But once you get it, you never lose it. It's quite special.
Totally, it's the presence. It's hard to understand for an actor. But it's bring me the first question. It's a deep one, and you almost answer it. It's the why, like
the why what?
The what's make the art of puppetry an art that you cherish. Like what's make this love for this art form?
Like I explained, I developed a love. It's almost like we were forced together. You know, it was a forced marriage, and it was awkward in the beginning, and I didn't quite understand what I was supposed to do or what it was supposed to do, and it was very challenging. And I think only over time can you really understand, you know, that the love grows, that you know that you cherish it as the relationships grow. You know, obviously there are some puppets that I have a more affinity with than others. There's just something about them that we connect better. But the medium itself is something. It's a love affair that, like I said, starts awkwardly, and it's like a pair of shoes that don't fit well, and you just keep working together, and you keep building a trust, and you build knowledge and build empathy, and it just continues, and all of a sudden that knowledge, you know, you allows you to create a deep connection with the object, any object, and you see the value and the worth in being able to bring objects and puppets alive and explain things to people, tell stories with them. It's really the most fascinating of all the performing arts medium. There's nothing to compare with it. And,
I agree so much. And I want to know an anecdote, because I always want to relate, and I feel to relate to a crush moment. Do you have like a specific moment you feel you get this, whoa, this art get me?
Well, it probably the moments that I remember the most are those that were early as I was developing my relationship with the object, and you know, there were puppets that I used 40 years ago that if I picked them up today, we would know each other intimately. And I may not have picked them up in 30 years, and I may not have held them in 30 years, but there's a connection that is very personal, and
like
so there
an instrument.
could be like an instrument. It could be like a person who I've never been very accomplished performer with instruments. I play guitar a little bit, but I don't have the same affinity with the guitar as I do with objects or something else. But no, I don't know if you're going to connect it to anything in life. I don't know, maybe a race car driver who sits in a car and has that feeling of, that it's something very, very familiar, and they know each other's movements intimately.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I go back to the beginning when I was learning puppetry with people like Felix Merp, who came in and taught me. He changed my whole thought on what puppets could be, and he was a great master of the art form back in the day, and others as well. I had the good fortune of working with Jim Henson, and he was quite inspiring, and people like that. But then there are others. I'm inspired all the time, not so much by the great masters, but more by young people, because I teach all the time, and I'm inspired by their enthusiasm and their insight and how they see things. And they see things differently than I do, and how they connect with the object differently than I do. So I think that's really important too, is to constantly keep growing and keep experimenting and keep playing, because there's obviously, I've lived a long time, so there's a lifetime of possibility, and I don't think you'll ever get tired of it if you're like you say, you have a crush or a passion.
Yeah, totally. It's so cool. It's so true. It's so true. And I feel the passion is something you can put fire on. You can like build it. And I want to go to the chat a little, Jim, to let you know that we have Wanlu, who was a international ventriloquist who are watching from Philippines right now. So hi, Wanlu. Yeah, and people, if you want to write question to Jim, feel free to write it in the comment, and I will bring it to him into the screen like this. So, Jim, you were talking about teaching puppetry. I want to know, in your opinion, the field of study, what would be the best one to become a puppeteer?
Where to go to learn to be a puppeteer?
Yeah, or like, people come into puppetry from acting, other from building, other from dance. Like, what is the tools a puppeteer needs to train in?
It's so personal, isn't it? I've worked with dancers who take to the medium very easily, and I've worked with dancers who don't. I've worked with professional performers who take to it easily, and some that don't. I think it's really important that people are students of life, that they they get out of their living rooms and away from the screen, and they get outside and they study people, and they study things and textures and objects, and they become familiar more with the tactile world, the bigger world, as opposed to, I'm sure you can learn in a studio and in a workshop technique and things like that. But I had a friend ask me one time, he said, Jim, how can I become an artist? And I said, okay. What he meant was a visual artist. And I said, well, okay, the best way is you just get some paints and paint a picture, and then put it in the closet, and then paint 100 more pictures. Paint 100 more pictures, and then take your painting out of the closet and look at them and see if you've improved. And I bet you will improve. If you paint 100 pictures, you're probably going to become very good. So it's no different. The only way to become a good puppeteer, you can study all you want. You can study technique, you can study, the only way to become a really good puppeteer is to do it. Yeah. And to do it, and to do it, and to do it, and to do it all the time.
Over and over.
As much as you can. And if you're not learning, well, there's something wrong. But I guarantee you, most everyone will learn, over time. You can't help but. And what you'll do is you'll develop your own style.
Yeah.
Your own voice with the object, whatever that is.
That you bring it personal. You bring your own soul towards the object.
Yeah, we teach puppetry here in our Animotion program, and it's an intensive 3 weeks, and it's really fascinating. It's extraordinary. but we still only teach the basics. After 3 weeks of intensive work, you're still only knowing. You can come away from it answering the question, do I like this medium or don't I? You know, and if I like this medium, then let's build together
with it.
experiences together. And through that work, you're going to improve and become you know, a better performing artist and a better puppeteer. Right?
That's a wonderful answer. So we have a question from the audience. So I will bring in Jim and we will discover this question together. I think you have 2 questions. So it's Felix who asks, like, he want to know about how can you say a puppet has or not thought?
Thought.
Oh. Interesting. Can you give an example?
Oh, Felix.
it's deep, eh? We have deep listeners.
It's actually really very important. You know, thought. It's amazing. I think my good friend Mike Peterson came up with the idea that, you know, or he coined the idea that, you know, the puppet is a thought in your hand, right? So the hardest thing to teach is how to take the thought that exists in the head, the subtext, the thought, and have it project in through however into your hands and into the object. I mean, it can be taught. I think it's best learned, but for me, that's the hardest thing for people to grasp, is how to move past the technical and into the that feeling that you get, you know, because a puppet can't exist alone. The puppet exists with the puppeteer. So the thought has to exist with the puppeteer. If there's absence of thought in the head of the puppeteer, there'll be absence of thought in the head of the puppet. And you can make it look like the puppet has thought, but it still won't be the same feeling. And I know this because our performances are almost entirely for children, and they're the best audience. They can tell when you're not thinking. You know, they can tell when you're thinking. And they can tell when that thinking is moving into the object, and the object is actually thinking. They can tell, and so we work really, really hard to make the puppets think, and think for themselves. However, we have to acknowledge that the thought begins first up in the head. So the puppeteer has to always be considering that thought. It's subtext that exists in the head, and that's projected into the object.
Yeah.
Felix, I'm not sure I answered your question, Felix, but thank you for asking. That's great.
Yeah, that was a deep one. That's great. Thank you.
It's actually fundamental. It's absolutely fundamental to what we do.
Yeah. Yes. And it's bring me the next one about definition. What is your own definition of a puppet?
I don't really have a definition of a puppet. Tell you the truth, I kind of resist a little bit definitions and walls and things like that. You know, I think we know when we see it. You know, I mean, I could tell you that in some way a puppet is like a fully formed object, but at the same time you can pick up a stick off the street, and that stick you can make come alive. It's an object. It starts as a stick, but at some point, if it's affected by human thought and human emotion and human gesture, it becomes a puppet. You know, no different than you know, a child playing on a carpet with toys and dolls. The moment that child affects the object with sound, you know, it in some way becomes a puppet. You know, the challenge for us in our medium is to explain to the greater world what puppets are, because we know what they are. And then most people have the impression of puppets in their minds. It's a hand puppet, or it's a string puppet, or a mouth puppet, mostly in North America.
Yeah. But
the beauty of puppets is, I look around this room and I have fully formed objects, puppets, you know. But I also have many other objects that are not puppets, but they could easily become a puppet, right? Yeah. All it takes is a little inspiration, you know, to turn this into not a pair of scissors, but an object that has feeling and emotion. It's fascinating. It's crazy. It's crazy. Let's face it.
Let's face it. We are crazy.
We walk about life trying to be normal, but
yeah,
we do normal things like shop for groceries and things like that. But in our brains, there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, we stay creative in this time. So it's bring me your perception of our art form. Do you feel we are in an ascension?
Oh yeah,
it's getting more popular, more appealing. I don't know how to.
Yeah, we are, and that's because I think there's a lust for it. There's a desire to find new ways of expressing ourselves. I mean, for so long we've been mired in the conventional script-based, text-based plays with adults walking around talking to each other. And that's gone on for a long time. And there's some value in that. A beautiful plays can be based on text and scripts, but devised work using objects is really it's curious. It's new. It's of course, when I say it's new, it's the oldest art form, performance art form in the world. Puppetry's gone on since we lived in the caves, but it's as an organized art form, as one that is now being taught and used. It's the most exciting. The problem, I think, is as directors in the industry find out about it, they want to use puppets in their plays, but they don't know how to use them. They don't know how to bring them to life. They don't know how, and they certainly don't know how to direct them. So there's a frustration, I think, that's existing in conventional theater, bringing puppets in and trying to use them in a conventional theater setting.
Yeah.
But I think it's certainly on the rise. It's puppetry around the world is booming, and there's so many extraordinary people playing with the object and expressing themselves in beautiful ways. Oh yeah, it's quite an exciting time actually to be in this world.
Yeah, I have the same perception. I feel it too, that it's growing.
Certainly in Quebec, I mean, there's so many puppeteers in Quebec. It's extraordinary.
Yes, we multiply.
When I began this, in the 70s, there were very few puppeteers in Atlantic Canada, if any. Mermaid Theatre was one of the few companies doing plays with objects and puppets, and now we have many people playing and experimenting and working with objects in theater. So it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, I want to go for the next question, more personal, about your goal, like with the art form for your career, for the future, what they are. What you want for the future, Jim?
Survival.
But you have this TV project. I want you to maybe elaborate on this.
These are changing times. We don't want to spend too much time talking about the damn COVID, but COVID has, it's interesting. It's one of these things where we've gone through all the stages of grief, I think. And, initially it was shock. We lost all touring, we lost everything and laid people off. And now we're bringing people back and we're starting to work again. So what COVID has given us the opportunity to reevaluate what we do and how we do it and what's important and how do we want to apply this new knowledge. And so I'm very excited that here at Mermaid we're starting a brand new world. For so long we've been a touring company, tour around the world regularly. That stopped completely. So now we're adapting to a new medium. Like everyone, but unlike everyone, we've started an actual television network. So here at Mermaid, we have a network called Mermaid TV, and we're creating educational, promotional, and entertainment programming here from our headquarters here in Windsor. So each of us, and some of us have been doing this a long time, are learning new skills. We're learning how to develop work for the medium that you're now on, and that's really quite fascinating. The knowledge that we've gained over the years creating live theater, some of it is transferable, but some of it's not. So we're all going back to school, and so coming to work every day is totally different. So I mean, as much as I'm unhappy that we're all having to suffer through this damn pandemic, you know, there are some positive things I suppose we can take from it if we're willing to, if we're
Yeah.
willing to work at it.
And you are part of the willing people.
Well, we see, we've had a lot of things at times in the past when times haven't been good. I'm sure every theater company has, and every individual performing artist has. But I've always looked at those as opportunities, and so we learn from those, and then we move on and we construct something new, or we shift focus, and that's what's happening now on a grand scale. You know, this is the biggest obstacle that's ever been thrown our way, and so how we respond to it, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
Individually, as companies, and as a community. And so, you know, I'm, as you know, connected through UNIMA, and we have our association here in Atlantic Canada, and we connect now more than we ever have because of social media, because of Zoom, and all those things have given us an opportunity to connect more. We connect nationally, and we connect more internationally. Now, I can't go to Bali for the symposium and the Congress and the festival, which is really quite sad. And that'll happen again. But certainly the dialogue is continuing. We're constantly talking to each other more than we ever have, I think, because of COVID.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I love, this is so much wisdom that you just share about, like, it's your attitude toward the situation, instead of like yeah, you take it as an opportunity instead of staying in grief. And I think we have all to learn from that.
I think you acknowledge the grief and you acknowledge the pain and all that. That's really very important. But you know, I had a very good, really good friend pass away just 2 days ago, and you know, it's times like that when you really reevaluate what's important. You know. And so the fact that I'm still here doing what I do, and I'm blessed to do what I do, and I'm very privileged, and all those things, it's like, why wouldn't I do this? Why, you know, why? So I think we have a voice as puppeteers. We have a very important voice, and it's one that the world, we need to share with the world. So we have to believe in it and just keep finding new ways of telling our stories. And if digital media is the way currently, then let's bloody well do it. Because at some point we're going to get back on stage again. We're going to gather as humans again in the Philippines and places like that. It's going to happen. You know? So, and until that happens, we just got to keep the wheels turning.
Yeah, and people are curious. On the chat, we have Steven who say, where can I find Mermaid video online?
Hi, Steve.
Yeah.
You can find, that's really, you can go to Mermaid's website. We're going to have a platform there where a lot of the videos will be available there. And you can just go to mermaidtheatre.ca, and on there you'll see Mermaid TV. It really isn't launched yet. It's going to be launched, I think, in January with a number of options, but it's still so brand new. And what we want to do is populate the TV network with a lot of stuff. Yeah. But still, we're a skeleton crew here, working as hard as we can. So, and you'll see my face on it periodically. So I hope that doesn't bother you too much, Steve.
Yeah, but I want to ask you for the conclusion. I always want the puppeteers to bring a puppet, or maybe you can do a little tour also if you want to show us.
I can show you my room. This is my office.
Yeah.
Here, my friend Hand Puppet. It's just beautiful. I carved him back, I don't know, maybe in the late 80s. Yeah. I just love him. For some reason, he speaks to me. I put him on, and my good friend Mike Peterson in Toronto, he was one of the puppets he used too. And here's a couple puppets from an ancient show that we did 1,000 years ago. Here's the Hungry Caterpillar. Can you see the Hungry Caterpillar?
Yeah.
Here's a little puppet that I made from in Cheticamp. There's a beautiful festival called Le Mi-Carême, and Mi-Carême means mid-Lent. And we go up there and we put on masks and we go around from house to house and
Wow.
And so people try to guess who we are. So I made little Mikarem puppets.
So cool.
Can you see all this stuff?
Yeah.
So my room is filled, but the
Oh my God, that's
so
so
beautiful.
cool.
That's little Colin here, and that's his godmother. And here's little Anna, Anna's pet. And I'll show you this one. This is this beautiful woman.
Wow.
She's my grandmother.
Oh.
She's a beautiful bunraku style puppet that I've used in videos and on stage.
Yeah. Oh.
The incredible artist Kate Church made those for us back in the day. So, well, we have this, and at our headquarters, it's filled with puppets. I'm in my office. I should show you this mask. It's really quite beautiful too.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Whoa.
I'm not doing this very well, am I?
It's good. It's good. Good cameraman. You're good. Wow. You learn. It's part of the training. Social media.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. Anyway, we have comment on that. We have Steve who say, hi, happy you're doing this podcast. And they say, many puppet thinking. Yeah, so it's going with. But we have also Viviana who say, I really enjoy this interview. I talk with me. Yeah, the intimacy. It's. I think your speech vibrate towards the people who are watching. And Kimberly said also about the COVID has made me interested in puppetry. And it's a way to connect with people on distance.
Absolutely. And so I'm free if anybody just wants to contact me. I'd love to enter a dialogue with them. I'm sure you would too, Caroline. The thing I love about the puppet community is it's very open. It's very accepting, and people are all there for each other, which is really quite wonderful. Great community to be a part of, I think.
Totally. We recruit all the time new puppeteers, and we train them.
Yeah, we open ourselves up, and whatever knowledge that we have, we like to share.
Yes. So if people want to contact you or see more of your work, Jim, where they should watch?
They can visit. They can come to the website, www.mermaidtheatre.ca, and they can see Mermaid Theatre's performances and what we the training we provide. We also, it's really fascinating for puppeteers. We have we offer mentorship here in our theater loft, and we have people coming from all over the world to reside here in a space, and we provide free mentorship while they're here, and a free space. We provide free space and a free mentorship. So if they're developing work using the object and they have a really good project they want to play with or play on, then we welcome people, like I say, from all over. Next year we already have a lineup of probably 12 artists who are coming over throughout the year to play. Some from Quebec. Our first one is from Quebec, coming in January. She's going to be here isolating for 2 weeks, starting at the 28th, and then she's free to associate with masks on. So that's fantastic. We're looking forward to having her here.
Yeah, so cool. And yeah, you make interest, like people Lucille want to contact you, and she do you train online? This is a good question.
That's a really, I've done one workshop online, one puppetry workshop where I taught students at Dalhousie, and they were in their apartments, in their living rooms, in their kitchen, and they were doing some work, and I was trying to help them. I had a puppet here that I was helping them with, just teaching them basic movement and breath and thought and all those things. And so that was the only time. So yeah, I'm sure it's possible. It's possible. Anything's possible. Just, I think that the thing to do is to start the connection and see what people want and where to go from there.
What's the need and how you could help. So cool. Jem, thank you so much for your time. That was amazing. We have done the half hour. Maybe people have questions. If you don't want to stop, just fill out question. Oh, but I can ask you one more about the future because the future is hard to predict. But I want to know if you have a crystal ball and you can say where, like you see where will be puppetry in 10 years. Where we will be. Do you feel technology will get us or?
You know what? I think it's as vast as the imagination you can. Again, I'm a purist. We can use as much technology in as we want, and some of it enhances the work that we do. I assume at some point we're going to be working in holograms and all kinds of wonderful things, but I don't think there's anything more wonderful than the intimacy between an object and a human.
Mm-hmm.
It's a special relationship, and I don't care how much. You don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of stuff. You just need that connection, that relationship. Yeah. You need an object and something and a story to tell. Yeah. And everything else is just bells and whistles and trapping,
Yeah.
At least that's a good place to begin. Think less about how much I need, the big set I need, and just think about, creating a relationship with the object and let that grow into a big production if that's what's necessary. But for you, first of all, you got to have a good story to tell, and you got to have a reason to tell it, and you got to have someone to tell it with. So,
yeah, we will go back to the essential.
Go back to the basics. Yeah.
So cool. Thank you. And you will maybe have a phone call. Lucine said that she will contact you. So you make connection right there. And,
brilliant.
And we have Dina who agree. And connection and story to tell.
Thanks, Dina.
So it's vibrate towards people who are watching. Thank you so much, Jim.
Yeah,
so,
this was very cool. I really, really enjoyed this. And thank you for including me in your podcast. And those of us down here in Atlantic Canada, we sometimes get lost. So it's really nice that you reached out.
Yeah, we need to connect more and more. Yeah. Thank you for your time and your wisdom. That was like so much good. And so stay in the virtual studio. I will just push you for a moment of the screen to do the outro, and we talk after, okay?
Okay.
Bye, Jim. Woo-hoo! Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. And yes, it's Christmas. So I hope you will enjoy the Christmas time. Maybe you will build puppet for Christmas. Maybe you will have time with family. Maybe you will do a little Zoom with your nephews and niece and bring some puppet towards the camera. So I wish you all the best. Merry Christmas. And I will have another interview with another Canadian from the West Side. So stay tuned to know more about it. So let's put this jungle because it's part of it. Oh, yeah. And if you haven't watched the Patreon right there, don't forget to have a look on this because it's a lot of resource and workshop that we put for you guys because we want to make the community bigger and stronger as we are. Okay. Have a nice evening. See you.